Society tells us that if we want to change our habits, we have to grit our teeth, dig deep, and find more willpower. If we fail, we assume we simply lacked the motivation. We like to think we are entirely in control. We assume the actions we take each day are the direct result of purposeful drive and conscious choices. But look closely at your daily routines, and you'll find a different variable at play. The majority of your actions are actually dictated by the physical spaces you inhabit and the specific objects placed directly in front of you. If you struggle to break bad habits or build good ones, the problem usually isn't inside your head. True behavioral change requires looking outward to the environment around you. In Boston, a primary care physician named Anne Thorndike designed a 6-month study to improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors. She did not plan on speaking a single word to any of them. This floor plan of the hospital cafeteria shows the simple architectural adjustment her team made. Originally, the refrigerators next to the cash registers were filled strictly with soda. Researchers simply added bottled water as an option to every primary fridge and placed additional baskets of bottled water next to all the food stations. This bar chart overlay tracks the exact data over the next 3 months. Without any external prodding, soda sales dropped by 11.4%, while sales of bottled water increased by 25.8%. Nobody was asked to reconsider their health. Because the amount of water in the room increased, people automatically made healthier choices. Physical spaces engineer human behavior. In 1936, psychologist Pert Lewin wrote this simple mathematical formula. It states that behavior is a function of the person in their environment. What you do is a direct response to where you are. By 1952, the retail industry had figured out how to use this math to their advantage. Economist Hawkins Stern described suggestion impulse buying, which, as he wrote, is triggered when a shopper sees a product for the first time and visualizes a need for it. This data visualization of a grocery aisle shows how heavily your choices are shaped by presentation alone. Exactly 45% of Coca-Cola sales come specifically from end-of-the-aisle racks, simply because they are highly visible locations that encounter heavy foot traffic. The reason we are so vulnerable to these physical layouts comes down to biology. Out of the roughly 11 million sensory receptors in the human body, approximately 10 million are dedicated entirely to sight. Because the brain allocates so much of its processing power to vision, the most obvious visual cues act as the greatest catalysts for our actions. A minor aesthetic shift in a room dictates a major physical response. Every habit is initiated by a cue. If the visual trigger that sparks a behavior is subtle or hidden from view, your brain will easily ignore it. This graph tracking household energy use demonstrates a Dutch study from the 1970s. Homeowners whose electrical meters were placed in the main upstairs hallway used 30% less electricity than neighbors with identical meters hidden down in the basement. At Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, cleaning staff installed a small sticker of a fly near the center of each urinal. By giving men an obvious visual target, they improved aim so effectively that it cut bathroom cleaning costs by 8% per year. If you tuck an acoustic guitar away in a closet, you'll likely forget to play it. But if you place that guitar stand directly in the middle of your living room, you will grab it almost every day. To make a habit a persistent part of your daily routine, you have to ensure the physical trigger takes up prominent space in your environment. As you repeat a behavior, the cue eventually stops being a single isolated object. Your brain begins associating the habit with the entire context of the surrounding room. This is why multi-purpose spaces often cause our focus to collapse. If you use the exact same couch to eat meals, watch television, and answer work emails, your brain receives a mishmash of competing contextual cues. When you mix contexts, you mix habits. And when an environment presents multiple options, the easiest, laziest action will consistently win out over the productive one. To fix this, scientists instruct insomniacs to only get into bed when they are actually tired. By removing all other activities, like reading or watching screens, the brain learns that the bed is exclusively a trigger for sleep. If you want stable, predictable routines, you have to build them inside stable, predictable spaces. Each room, or each corner of a room, requires one dedicated purpose. The fastest way to form a new routine is to step into a completely new space. In an unfamiliar environment, you leave your old behavioral biases behind, allowing you to build habits without fighting the invisible triggers of your past. You can apply this immediately using the one space, one use rule. Divide your living areas into strict activity zones, a specific chair for reading, a specific desk for writing, and a specific table for eating. Most people spend their entire lives navigating worlds designed by corporations and developers, spaces optimized to grab attention or drive profit rather than support personal goals. You do not have to be a passive consumer of your surroundings. By rearranging the cues in your physical space, you can take back control and become the active architect of your daily actions.